That's much better.
But if you close your eyes,
The Shining. So The Shining is a movie that's based off the Stephen King novel that was directed by Stanley Kubrick, and it's fair to say that them two had quite a different interpretation of the book The Shining. And if you want to know why, then I'm going to leave a link in the description of two particular interviews that Stephen King did, where he actually talks about Stanley Kubrick and the movie itself, and they're actually very interesting interviews. I definitely urge you to check them out. So moving on to the movie, and it's a movie about this guy, Jack Torrance, who is played by Jack Nicholson, and he has basically accepted a job to work at a hotel of which is closed off during winter because all the roads are full of snow, so they can't exactly bring guests up there. So basically Jack Torrance and his family then move into this hotel to look after it, basically be caretakers of the place. But it's also to help Jack Torrance's writer's block. He's a writer and he just wants to find some writing material. He just can't seem to write about anything. So living in this hotel is his inspiration to at least write something. But even further on in this movie, it seems that it's a little bit too much for Jack Torrance to handle. And his family suffer because of that. Now, Jack Nicholson was absolutely superb in this movie. He was just a terrifying person, a really interesting guy as well. But what I like about his performance in particular is just you can clearly see from his performance as a character the stages of going into insanity. You know, from the very start of this movie, he's actually a very sane guy, a nice guy. And you can clearly see that as the movie develops, the more that he stays at this hotel, the more that he's just being affected mentally. You know, whether that be his dreams or the images he's seeing or just the way he feels about Wendy and Danny. And in particular, it was when he was hitting insanity, when he truly hit that mark, he was absolutely terrifying. He was awesome. Particularly the ending. The ending is absolutely superb. I'm not going to say what it is for spoilers, but yeah, the ending cracked me up. Now moving on to Danny Torrance, who is played by Danny Lloyd. I thought he was pretty good. I don't think he was nowhere near as exceptional as Jack Nicholson was, but I thought he played the role quite well, to be fair. And trust me, as a child actor, that is probably as best as you can get, to be honest. But it was also the concept of The Shining. I thought The Shining was a very interesting concept. I did like the idea of it, the fact that you're able to see certain things that people may not be able to see, and the fact that you can also talk to people through their minds if they also have The Shining. I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. But as a consequence to the movie, there is quite a lot of foreshadowing as well. You know, he sees things that are potentially going to be happening in the later stages of this movie, particularly the blood in the elevator. I'll get onto that a little bit later, but yeah, it's fair to say it does have its consequences. But now, let's swiftly move on to Shelley Duvall, who plays Wendy. I mean, oh my god. I don't think I have ever seen a performance so irritating, so annoying, and so over the top. I just, in the end of the movie, I absolutely hated her. I mean, there are rumours that apparently Stanley Kubrick really mistreated her and, you know, made sure that nobody spoke to her. So as the actor, yeah, I feel sympathy for her. I mean, that must have been a terrible experience. But in terms of the acting performance of the movie, I mean, oh god. I mean, seriously, I'm gonna have to agree with what Stephen King said in one of his interviews. I thought that she was literally just put into this movie to be loud, a moron, and just overreact to everything. I mean, talk about overreacting. I mean, when she's got the bat and Jack Nicholson's going up the stairs, she continuously keeps doing this. It's absolutely pathetic. Look at the distance between the two. She's absolutely nowhere near him, so why does she keep swinging the bat so much? I mean, talk about an overreaction. But it was also in his Johnny scene. I thought she still overreacted. You know, the axe hits and all of a sudden she just screams off the top of her voice. I mean, seriously, I just think that when she saw that bit, she was just like, oh my god, an axe! Okay, I realise what's gonna happen. React! See what I mean? It's bullshit. And I know exactly what you guys are gonna be saying to me right now. Oh wow, you're such a harsh bastard, Ben. I bet you anything if you were in that situation, you'd do the exact same thing. Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I probably would scream, yes, but I don't think I have half the amount of vocal cords to pull off that amount of yelling in my entire life than she did in that one specific scene. And plus, I also don't think I would raise my eyes so much to the point that it actually looks like it's coming out of my head. That is creepy as fuck. Seriously, just watch that scene and just watch her eyes. It is absolutely uncomfortable as anything. But it's also the fact that she is also a complete moron in this movie. There is a fatal flaw with this, because there is a bit in this movie where Jack Nicholson is sleeping and then he falls onto the floor and then he suddenly wakes up because Wendy's helping, and he says to her that he's actually dreaming about the fact that he dreamt about killing Wendy and Danny. I mean, that alone is a bit creepy, but you know, at least he's being honest about it. But then Danny comes over into the room and then she sees he's got a mark on his neck, and then instantly, right in that moment, she just believes straight away that he did it. He is a monster who just hurt his son. And that's actually fair enough because he has apparently done it before, as he explains in the bar scene. But it's the fact that she responded by going, okay, you've just hurt my child. How dare you? I'm going to go back up into the room where I know you know where we are so that you can come to us again. I mean, seriously, you've just helped lift up a guy who was dreaming about killing you and your son, and then you apparently believe straight away that he has just hit him. I'm fucking out of there. I don't care how long it takes, and I don't care how bad it is out there. I'm fucking out of that hotel and away from that fucking person. Honestly, it's a load of shit. Seriously, I know I'm swearing a lot, but oh my god. And it doesn't even stop there. Jack then goes over to the bar for the first time, and then Wendy comes up over to him and just goes, Jack, Danny told me everything. We're not alone in this hotel. There is a crazy woman who just struck Jack in room 237. Please go up there, please. And to be fair, I agree with Jack in that scene. I love that line, to be fair. Are you out of your fucking mind? Yeah, I did like that, to be fair, because to be honest, I thought the same way. But then Jack goes over into the room and he sees certain things happening in that room. And then he goes back and tells Wendy that there's nothing there. I mean, fair enough, that is a bit strange. But it was Wendy's reaction again. You know, Jack is saying to her that there's nothing there and says that it's most likely he did it to himself. Because he's right. He even says in the film, when you rule out the possibility of everything else, it has to come to this conclusion that he did it to himself. I mean, if there's nobody in the hotel, it has to be him. But it's the fact that Wendy doesn't believe him. Why does Wendy not believe him? I mean, this is a kid who talks to his own fucking finger. And Danny even says near the start of this movie when he's talking to the caretaker that she does know about this. So she clearly knows there is something a tiny bit wrong with him. Oh my god, Shelley Duvall. Oh, no. No. Now moving on to the foreshadowing of this movie, and Stanley Kubrick, as we all know, has certain ways of making some scenes iconic. You've got the little girls, you've got the maze, and you've also got the woman in the bathtub. I thought those three famous scenes in particular were incredibly effective. They were creepy, they were interesting, and there are two in particular that are particularly probably the most famous parts of this movie that I thought were not done very well. I mean, first off, when you saw the foreshadowing of Danny using The Shining, you could see the blood coming out of the elevator. You know, that was a pretty terrifying image, to be fair. But in the end, when it actually came to the scene where Wendy goes downstairs to see the blood coming out of the elevator, all it turned into was just she saw blood come out of an elevator, and that's about it. You know, she then exits the hotel and tries to find Danny in the maze, but there's no blood on her whatsoever, so the blood didn't even touch her, which was just boring. I thought that was a really boring thing. The fact that I was set up so much to see blood coming out of an elevator to become a massive thing, when it just turned into what we already saw previously. It didn't turn into anything. But arguably the most famous scene, of course, as we know, is the Here's Johnny scene. I mean, it is absolutely pretty terrifying to see Jack Nicholson when he's doing it, especially when he sticks his head out the door. That is awesome. But like I already said when it comes to Wendy's overreaction when that happens, that is awful in itself, but it's actually the result of Jack Nicholson and his character just bashing down the door. And here's my explanation. So guys, here's what I mean. When Jack Nicholson is breaking down the door, and I realise this is the wrong side of the door, but trust me, you don't want to see what's on the other side of this door. He breaks down this part here. He breaks down this slab of door here. And then of course, as we all know, he then sticks his head out and does the Here's Johnny bit that we all know and love. And even I will admit, I do like it when I see the scene. So when he cuts down the door, this is the part of the door which he cuts it down so he can get his head in, and he also puts his hand through. Wendy then strikes him with the knife on his hand, and he's basically in a bit of pain right now. You know, he's going back and he's just going, oh god! So in that moment you'd think, okay, maybe he shouldn't bust down the door because she's got a knife. She is actually a bit of a threat. But then afterwards there's a scene where the caretaker who's arriving on plane is in the snowmobile and then arrives at the hotel. And then the scene after, you get back to Jack Nicholson and the door. And if you actually look at the door, all of this is gone. All of the door is nearly completely gone. There's only a tiny slab here of the door left. Just this middle bit. I mean, is the caretaker guy so important that you literally can't cut down just the middle part of the door, of which I think would only take 10 seconds to bust down? He's already broken off the rest of the door. It's only going to take 10 seconds to break it down. But no, he decides to go away and get the other guy while Wendy can make her escape, of which he could have easily killed her about 30 seconds later, of which would be plenty of time for Jack to go down and kill the other guy. I just don't get it. Oh well. Never mind. And that little gimmick that I had at the start of this whole video was mainly because the music, as I always mention in my videos, the music was awful. I actually hated the music in this movie because I understand what they were trying to go for with this music. You know, it was trying to be creepy and intense at the same time, which I can see why they did that. It makes sense, but it's the fact that it was so eerie and so fucking loud to the point where it actually hurt my ears. I'm sorry, but if you're going to hurt my ears in a movie, you're getting an instant negative. I don't care what you say. But guys, in the end, The Shining is a movie that for me in particular, I thought was okay. It was an okay movie. There were some things that I did like in this movie, but there was quite a few things that I didn't like about this movie. But I do understand. It's a movie that I think if you were of the appropriate age of the time and you watched it around that time, then I do understand the appeal. I do get why it is a big hit. But for me personally, I wasn't that big of a fan of it. I'm sorry, guys. I will say in the end that The Shining is a movie that I don't think I'll be keeping. But I understand its popularity enough to be putting it in the parent pile. Now guys, I have a question to ask you. Do you like horror movies? Are you a massive horror movie buff? And do you want to hear people absolutely talk the shit out of it or talk about how brilliant it is other than me? Well, I urge you to go visit Rated H on SoundCloud, hosted by Smokey and Ben. I definitely urge you to check it out. It is hilarious. It is just a brilliant show. And if you're a horror movie buff, I think you will particularly enjoy the content. Guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed your stay here, and I hope you will enjoy more videos that is to come on this channel. Now, if you wish to leave a like and subscribe, then that would be perfectly fine by me. But if you also want to leave a comment down below and express your opinions about certain movies, or this movie in particular, then go ahead. I want a good conversation. And in the meantime, guys, I will see you in the future.